Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In German, there's a word, Schadenfreude. It's made up of two words, and I know a little German. Schaden means something like shadow, and Freude means something like happiness. So it's happiness for the shadow. In other words, it's a happiness for the distress that others suffer. People get joy from the distress of others. Now, we have been talking about feeling the pain of others and feeling the joy of others and entering into a state of empathy where we try to feel others as ourselves and to do unto others as we would do unto ourselves. And I just ran into a story that captures the way people should act in certain situations, captures the attitude people should have towards the difficulty that others are going through. There was a teacher in a classroom, and certain events happened with one of his students. And years later, this teacher is at a wedding, and a student of his comes up to him. And the student says to him, I want to thank you for everything you did for me. And he says, well, the teacher says, that's nice. What are you doing now? And he said, I've become a teacher. Your influence on me and the things you did for me were so extraordinary that I understood that I could help other people in the way that you helped me. And the teacher didn't respond. And the student said, don't you remember? There was an incident in the classroom when one of the students reported that a watch had been stolen. And what happened was, I saw this watch on him, and I saw him put it in his pocket, and I always wanted a watch like that, and I knew I couldn't get one, so I went into his pocket when no one was looking, and I stole it. And when he reported it stolen, you indicated to everybody that all the students should stand up against the wall and have their eyes closed. And you then went through everybody's pocket. And at the end, you had come into my pocket, you saw the watch, you took it out, then you told everybody to sit down after you'd gone through all the pockets. You said, I have the watch, and you gave it to the boy who had had it stolen from him, and you never mentioned a word about me. You never told anybody that I was the one. You never told anybody how that you had found it in my pocket. You didn't embarrass me. You didn't make me out to be a thief. I got the lesson, and it changed my life. And the teacher said, that's very interesting. I didn't know that. He said, what do you mean you didn't know that? You did this incredible thing for me, and you didn't know what you had done for me? What happened? He said, well, when I told everybody else to close their eyes, I also closed my eyes. And this was a sort of empathy that this man had towards his students, that not only did he want to protect them from any sort of difficulty they may have, he didn't want to know about it himself. He didn't want to prejudice himself against his students by knowing who that one was. Can we operate in that kind of a fashion? Can we give other people that kind of a benefit of the doubt? Can we be that forgiving in our hearts towards others? Everything comes down to how we handle things, how, when we encounter things, we act in those situations. There was a king who was enlightened, and he was enlightened by a certain guru who lived in the jungle outside of his kingdom. And every 6 months, he used to go visit the guru who was responsible for his elevation. And the guru always gave him special time. And the rest of his students who were sitting with him began to resent the fact that they were with him all the time, yet when the emperor came, he spent time with the emperor to the exception of them. And this resentment began to rise among them. While the king is sitting in the back of the ashram, one of his soldiers, runs into the ashram and runs directly to the king. And he says, "You have to leave right now. The palace is on fire, and you have to take care of it." And the king looked at him, and he said, "I'm spending time with my teacher. You walked in here, you didn't even say hello to him. Now go back and take care of everything, and I'm sure the people who are there know what to do." And he went back to sitting with his guru. The next day, while he's still there, someone runs in and screams, "The monkeys have attacked the loincloths of the disciples." And all of the disciples ran out of the ashram to chase the monkeys away. And after they chased the monkeys away, they came back into the ashram, and the guru said to them, "You all ran out of the ashram over a piece of cloth." And the disciples began to complain. They said, "We only have 2 loincloths, one to wear and one to wash. If they had destroyed that, we wouldn't have had another one." And he said, "We have a king sitting in the back whose palace is burning down, and he wasn't moved, and he stayed in my presence. You all ran away for the sake of a loincloth." Well, it comes down to how you handle your situations. There is no difference in the attachment of a poor man to his loincloth than that of a king to his kingdom. However, it has to do with their attitude. 2 cents to a beggar can be worth more than an entire kingdom to a king. It all has to do with their attitude. And we have to establish an attitude. We have to establish an attitude in this world, an attitude, one, of empathy towards the rest of humanity, and 2, an attitude of understanding that no matter what we have, no matter what our possessions are, no matter the amount of them, whether it be large and small, they do not define who we are. They do not define our true essence. They do not define our reality. And if we begin to think that they define our reality, then we become lost to truth and lost to the essence of who we are. We've replaced our essence with attachments to external things. We, in truth, are not attached to anything in this world. Yet, we believe we are attached to so many things, and because of our mental attitudes, act as if we are attached to so many things. Proof of the fact that we're not attached to anything is how many things go with people after they've passed. What do they hold on to after they've passed? What do they still grasp after they've passed? Well, it's self-evident and easily understood that they hold on to nothing. Everything disappears. Everything gets done away with. All attachments are given up. But during our lifetime, we are attached to so many different things. It's almost as if we carry these things on our backs, and everywhere we go, we have to protect them, we have to nurture them, we have to take care of them, we are prideful of them, and we have all kinds of interrelationship with all of the things that we have. Can we have things and yet have a laissez-faire attitude towards them, have an attitude that they are not who we are? If we are truly looking for who we are, if we are truly looking to understand the essence of our own truth, the essence of our own being, if we're looking to find the lessons, the essence of our being, we can't hold on to external manifestations of any kind and treat them as if they're important and be able to look inside of ourselves. What happens is we form veils inside of ourselves through our mental connections and our mental needs to the things in this world. We form mental needs towards wealth. We form mental needs towards fame. We form mental needs towards status. We form mental needs towards power. We form mental needs about lust. We form all kinds of mental needs that we think we need in order to maintain our existence in the way that we want to maintain our existence. But in truth, every one of these attachments that we form is another veil that separates us from truth, is another veil that separates us from reality, is another veil that separates us from knowing who we truly are. So somewhere along our path, we have to decide, what is it that we want? Do we want to hold on to the elemental creations of God, or do we want to know the Creator? Do we want to know the truth of existence? Do we want to know the nature of existence? Do we want to understand how the nature of existence works and what our place is in it? Do we want to know who we are, or do we want to carry all of the burdens of the world with us? The more things we carry, the more difficult our life becomes. We become like donkeys who never get a break from their load, because everywhere we go, our load goes with us. Everywhere we go, our load is being carried in our mind. We somehow have to learn how to detach ourselves from the constant onslaught of thoughts that we have that are built in and connected to our needs and our desires. Now, these are our perceived needs and perceived desires. We have spent a lifetime being associated with our senses and being associated with the way we understand things through our senses. And we believe that our interaction with our senses and this external world is the life that we lead, and that's our reality, when in truth, it is not our reality. It's a surface appearance that we have taken as truth. It's a veneer that we have associated with truth. It's a veneer that we look at as the real thing. We need to begin to understand what happens when the veneer is stripped away. What is hidden behind the veneer? What is hidden behind what our eyes see and our ears hear and our nose smells and our tongue tastes and our fingers touch? What is hidden behind that? Now, the scientists have discovered that there's a whole world underneath the veneer of what we can see. And now they call it quantum mechanics. They have new ways of explaining the world in the very minute atomic elemental details of the world. And Niels Bohr, who was a quantum physicist, said, if you're not shocked by quantum mechanics, it means you don't understand it. There are gurus who've said, if you're not shocked when you begin to understand reality, it means you don't understand it. You see, we have been put to sleep in our constant sensual interaction with the world, and we believe this is reality. And for those who aren't looking any further, that is their reality. Just like Newtonian physics is the reality for certain scientists who can't seem to go beyond it into quantum physics. What we see is our reality for those of us who can't go beyond what our eyes see. There is an entire world that is beyond what our eyes see. There is an entire world that is beyond our sensual perceptions. And we somehow have to tune in to this invisible world, invisible to our physical eyes and invisible to our physical senses. We need to be able to take a step beyond our association with our physical life. Now, prophets have come along and explained to us about the world that we can't see. They've explained to us that there are angels. They've explained to us that there is a God. They've explained to us that this God has certain powers that are beyond description, that this God has certain qualities that are his essence. And they've explained to us what these qualities are. The various holy books explain to us what these qualities are. We are told that he created this world out of love, and he wanted to be able to share this love. So he created a world where his love could be felt and could be manifest. He created this world so that he would have an interrelationship with his creation, so his creation could understand his love and his creation could understand his mystery. We, as the creation, need to develop a relationship with that unseen. We need to develop a relationship with that which is non-elemental. We need to develop a relationship with the qualities that are beyond our sensory perception. Now, we can't touch love with our hands. We can't see it with our eyes, but its effects become very evident to us, and we can feel those effects within our inner being. We can feel those effects within our makeup. When love happens, everything begins to alter. Everything begins to change. Our attitude begins to alter. Our relationships begin to alter. Our interaction with others begin to alter. If you are comfortable in your own body, if you are comfortable in your own being, and you don't need to be in a protective mode because you are constantly feeling the animosity and the difficulty and the chaos that surrounds you, if you are satisfied that there is an overriding kindness, mercy, and compassion that is ruling all of existence, and that the only thing that's missing from your life is you don't feel it and you don't see it, even though you are surrounded by it all the time. If you can get to the point where you do feel it and you intermingle with it and you feel its protection from all of the chaos that is apparent in the world, you will become different. But to do this, it takes giving up all of our notions. It takes giving up all of our ideas that we've been raised with. It takes giving up all of the things that we hold sacred and we hold dear. If we are PhDs, we think the most important thing in the world is our title. If we are wealthy, we think the most important thing in the world is our money. If we are famous, we think the most important thing is fame. We have replaced love with material values. We have replaced non-elemental qualities that change who we are with an attachment to elemental things. And we need to be able to break that attachment. We have to be able to let go of our clinging to the things that we believe support us in this world. In reality, all that supports us is God. All that takes care of us is God. All that puts us in our place and moves us forward is God. And when we can let go of our dependence on our egocentric self, our ideas, our ability to do things, and let God do things on our behalf, our life becomes much simpler and much easier and more truthful, and enters into a state of calm, serenity, and peacefulness. In the Arabic language, there are 99 names for God and the one supreme name, Allah. One of the names of God is Salam, which means peace. This means that if you're going to find peace in your life, there has to be a surrender to the Creator. If you're going to find Rahman and Rahim, mercy and compassion in your life, there has to be a surrender to the Creator. And what does that surrender include? It basically comes down to giving up our belief system in our ability to do things and incorporates a belief system that God guides us. And if we can replace our will with His will, we can move into the higher realms of being, the transcendent realms of being, the elevated realms of being, the realms of God's qualities. Now, this isn't a simple thing to do. It's complicated, and it involves doing the best you can in every situation, but understanding that God's will overrides your will, and that God's will is what guides you towards appropriate action and towards appropriate outcomes. And we need to be able to put that kind of a perspective on everything that we do. We have all been in situations that we thought mentally were not resolvable. And then somehow, within a day or two or a week or a year or a couple of years, they somehow got resolved. We didn't resolve them. Every effort we made was futile in bringing about resolution. But then all of a sudden, resolution came. Where did that resolution come from? How did that resolution come about? How did it override our most severe efforts in trying to bring about some kind of a solution? It came about through a power that is beyond our understanding, from a power that is constantly surrounding us, guiding us, moving with us, and taking us to all the appropriate places, that brings us to all the appropriate ports, that allows us to enter into all the appropriate scenarios that will fulfill our greatest needs. But to do this, we have to set an intention. We have to inwardly set an intention that we are connected to our Creator, that we allow our Creator to guide us, and that we follow His guidance. So we should say to ourselves, God, I'm trying to do the best I can, but it is only through your guidance and through your protection that I can get to know the truth and that which is best for me can come about. So I surrender my will for your will and allow me to understand your will. Allow me to know your intentions. Allow me to know your qualities. Once we begin to interact with God's qualities, like that teacher did in that little story, we begin to get a sense of serenity because we're doing the appropriate things. As we do the appropriate things towards others, appropriate things get done towards us. Somebody once said to me, "Nobody seems to love me." And the response jumped out of my lips and said, "You have to become more lovable." And this is the way it is. We all need to become more lovable. And how do we become more lovable? We become more lovable by giving out love. We become more lovable by acting with mercy and compassion and kindness and peacefulness in our actions towards others. That may not be appreciated by everyone, but there will be people who will catch that resonance, who will catch that vibration, and that resonance and that vibration will set off something in them which will return that vibration to you. And then you will be caught up in a situation where love vibrates, love resonates in the presence that you bring into a room. And then that presence will bring about more of the same thing. Most of you know that I sat with a teacher, Muhammad Rahim Bawa Muhaiyaddeen, for 14 years. And from the time he came to America until the time he passed, from approximately 72 to 86. And he carried with him, everywhere he went, an enormous amount of love. In the same way that many of us carry attachments to the physical world, he carried attachments to the invisible world. He carried attachments to the qualities that represent the Creator. He carried attachments to the qualities that make up reality. These invisible qualities, God's qualities, are the truth of existence. The eternal life is based in those qualities. We all know that the life within this physical world, including our bodies, has a limited term, a limited time. It comes and slowly it grows, it activates, it becomes mature, and over time it dissipates and disappears. But if you are looking for eternal life, if you are looking for life beyond this physical world, you have to establish within yourself a connection to the invisible world. You have to establish a connection between yourself and the qualities that are from the Creator. So you have to integrate into your being, integrate into your essence the qualities of our Creator. So we can, and He has given us the ability to become merciful. He has given us the ability to become compassionate. He has given us the ability to become loving. And as we become these things, we establish within ourselves a being that is different than the physical being. We establish an ethereal being within ourselves that's made up of God's qualities. And the more we integrate ourselves with that which can't be seen, the stronger this becomes in us until we're more into the world of Hak, the world of true reality, the world of eternal reality, and we're less in this world of physicality. We're less in this world of elemental reality. So there are these two worlds. There's the elemental reality, which the people on this path call illusion. And then there's this eternal reality, which is made up of God's qualities, which is called Hak, God's reality. And we have to make the shift between elemental reality and God's reality. And this has to do with the internal nature of our soul and who we are. We are either caught in elemental reality, which dissipates and disappears, or we transfer our beings into non-elemental, transcendent reality of God's qualities. And if we do this, then the eternal nature of who we are comes into focus and becomes real. And then we become part of that which is all. We are no longer a drop of the ocean. We are the entire ocean in a drop. And this shift, this paradigm shift, has to do with the attitude that we create in ourselves towards the world and the way that we carry it out. So we can either be chasing loincloths or chasing transcendence. And to be able to chase transcendence, we have to give up our attachment to loincloths and to everything else. And this is the big secret of existence. That which seems within our grasp doesn't do us any good. That which we've tried to accumulate all our lives doesn't do us any good. But if we turn and we look for that which we can't see, if we look for that which is ethereal, if we look for that which belongs to our Creator, which He has made available to the creation, then we can become part of the truth and part of eternal reality. And this is the choice that we are given in our lives. We are told that we have free will. Well, your free will narrows down to one choice. Do you choose the elemental world or do you choose God's world? And making that choice is the pivotal choice of your eternal existence. So it should be evident that that's a very important choice that we have to make in our lives. And we have to make it constantly. Every instant and every moment, we have to be aware that we are choosing either the elemental world or God's world. And we have to pray and ask God to help us choose the truth. Ya Allah, take us on the path towards you. Make us cognizant of your qualities. Make us understand love. Make love enter into our being and allow us to show love towards others. May the resonance of your qualities enter us, resonate within us, and then exude from us as who we are. This is our prayer, God. This is our intention. This is what we desire. We desire to have your qualities integrated into us. Allah, help us in this task. Ameen, Ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.